This is episode 294 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dion Morales, and today I'm joined by my good friends, Marcel Asian Manzano.
Oh, come on, it's not that hard. Flossy, nosy, nihilopilification.
What even is that?
It means when you perceive something to be of cheap value or valueless. So it is an actual word.
So are you calling yourself this?
No, I am just proving that you cannot read.
Oh, I thought it was gibberish, to be completely honest. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time you would have just slapped the keyboard in the nickname section. Just saying. All right. Will, minus 12 and still won. Haywood.
Show me your dice stats again, Marcel. Show them to me again.
I show them like every other round, but they're not as bad as
every
Stop
single
showing
round.
dice stats.
Terrible. And Ryan, twice the pride, double the fall. Staniszewski.
Yes. The one and only, the masterful duelist, Dooku himself.
All right, so as for announcements and news, yes, this last weekend, GSP was at the Las Vegas Open, bringing you live premiere X-Wing action. It was great to be back behind the driver's seat and having a great stream. Our co-host James Ritter was with me, and it was a great time. We were both. He drove back home. He's up in Utah, and interesting story. So his sister-in-law was having the same weekend a bachelorette party in Las Vegas. So he's like, "Hey." Originally, it was supposed to be the week before. He's like, "Hey, can you move your bachelorette party 1 week later so I can just travel with y'all?" So I can be at LVO. So that ended up working out. So thanks, James' sister-in-law, for moving your bachelor party for us. But thumbs up. It was pretty awesome. And again, shout out to LVO and Frontline Gaming for providing the internet. But yeah, I want to start today by talking about Las Vegas Open. What were some of the great things that happened? What was the winning list? The champion for LVO may end up popping in. We did invite him on the cast, but he is still in Las Vegas, and time zones are weird. So if we don't hear from him, not a big deal. And if we do, then awesome. Our podcast episodes brought to you by our GSP patrons. It is the #1 way to support us. You go to patreon.com/Gold Squadron. Thank you to everybody who has done so. All right. The Las Vegas Open. And what I want to actually start with is I want to talk about a brand new TO. Not necessarily brand new, but new to the premier level circuit. Brian Serafine absolutely did amazing. I was very professional, worked really hard, and was willing to ask questions, which I think is the #1 quality when somebody's like getting into that new like leadership position, is being able to like tap people like, "Hey, I know that you've done this before, Dion." He reached out to D. Yoon. He reached out to me. He reached out to Chris Allen, people who have run these premier level events before, to ask for guidance and help. And it showed in his overall performance. And also, shout out to Brian Gambrel. I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce his last name, but Kuat Print Yards, a.k.a. the person who made Roll Better, because this was the first time we ran a premier level event through Roll Better, and he was on call helping fix things as we went. And it's the rise of a new tournament software for X-Wing, and we got some cool new features. It was just overall really great. And of course, it was awesome to see all of the players there. Out of the GSP crew, me and James were the only two that were able to go this year, but it was a good time. It was a good time. We had a bunch of players, and today we're going to be focusing, of course, course, on those top cut lists. So I figure we go ahead, guys, and start with looking at the top list. Let's go ahead and make it happen. So you're gonna, by the way, one of the things that we are working out with Roll Better is you're gonna see a bunch of like screen names and not real names, but we'll be able to tell you who is who and their placements and things like that. So this is James Stumbo, our champion, and Ryan, go ahead and break down their list. I figure as our resident Separatist player, let's go ahead and make it happen. Oh, is he here?
I believe our guest is here. It's actually perfect timing.
Perfect timing. Let's get him in. Let's get him in. 1 second, James. All right. Just got to click a couple of buttons, and you will magically appear on the screen. All right. Button. And let computer magic happen. There he is, LVO champion James Stumbo. Oh, the crowd goes wild. No worries, my friend. No worries. So, before we actually get into your list, I want to get some background on you, because we cover tons of X-Wing, and we've been to pretty much, I would say, between us, we've been to every premier event in the United States. I'm like fairly certain about that, maybe minus 1 or 2 over the last few years. And I believe you're a newer-ish player, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I've seen you at an event before like this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, hold on. Some people are saying that they can't hear you, so let me click a couple more buttons. Control that. Give me a quick test 1 2 for me.
Test 1 2.
There it is. So you said you've been to the Scrub Down.
Yeah, I've been to the Midwest Scrub Down, but that's really about it. I started playing shortly after LVO last year.
Yeah, and let's get that player history. So, so you said you started playing about a year now?
Really started playing after this, like the Scrub Down. Mm-hmm. Just nothing really goes on in my area, so I travel. Yeah. There's just not a whole lot to go to.
So whereabouts are you from?
I'm from Iowa.
Oh, okay.
So.
Will's from Iowa.
I'm the Des Moines area.
I don't know anything about Iowa geography, so it means nothing to me. Iowa, where is that, Will?
Des Moines is central. I'm very east.
Right, you're almost in Illinois. You trip and you fall into Illinois, right?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
And what is James Stumbo's X-Wing origin story? Like how did you start? Did you just stumble upon the game? Give us the story.
I have a couple friends who played it in the past, and when I was looking for a new game to play, they were like, "Hey, check this out." They started with Destiny. I'm like, that just feels like a dice game. Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Well, what about X-Wing?" It's like X-Wing feels like infinite chess.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's awesome, man. And so you've been playing for about a year. You were able to get in with your buddies. Let's go ahead and let's shift to this year, LVO. What was your list?
3 Hyena bombers with prox mines and landing struts. Dirge with seismic charge, proton cannons, false transponder codes, and the title. Mm-hmm. That was it. Zandu Blood.
Yep.
And Count Dooku with proton bombs, proton cannon, or proton torpedoes, General Grievous, and title. I feel like there's something else.
Hate.
That's right.
Yeah. So, like, what was the inspiration? And by the way, for anybody who didn't watch the stream, this Count Dooku isn't like when people hear Count Dooku, a lot of people are assuming that it's the Siege of Coruscant Count Dooku. It's not. It's the OG one, right?
Custom Dooku. Yeah.
So, what was the inspiration behind this list?
So it's really designed to force my opponent to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Do they want to go and try to get the 7 points out of Count Dooku, or do they want to get Proximite
Right.
and fight those 9 points? And a lot of people chose to go after Dooku, and so he's fine with that. He's a monster of a point fortress, and he's almost impossible to kill in 7 or 8 rounds.
Well, let's clarify too. Why is he so difficult to kill? Because a lot of people see that decloak as a movement tool, or that cloak token as a movement tool for decloaking. But what did you do?
I used it more as a point fortress, where you just evade, hide. If you need to reposition, it's there, and then you recloak. And you're a big base ship with 10 health, 3 evade, and a Grievous if you need it. And if you kill a bomber, then Grievous respawns, and he's just got 1 more health now. And so he just stays cloaked and lets you try to kill him.
And that's, so I believe we had you on stream twice. By the way, I wore this shirt in honor of the Hyena Bombers, the Death Pizzas, right? I mean, I had to. I couldn't miss the opportunity. So did you have many people opt in to the Hyena Bombers? Because those things are scary with those proximity mines.
Yeah, I had it was either 2 or 3 opponents that went after the Hyenas, and they just trade so well. I think Brian Farmer went after the Hyenas, and one of the Hyenas got away. His Luke had 1 health, and Count Dooku was bearing down on him with proton torpedoes and ready to go. So they trade really, really well. Like, almost always get at least 6 to 8 points out of them, and 1 gets away.
So, I only got to see I didn't only get to see the final, but as far as your games, I only got to see the final.
Right.
And I was surprised at the setup and the choices made throughout. Obviously, it worked out. You did the whole thing, but especially in the chat, as I was reading through the chat, your bombers were like 5 engagements away from being basically in the scrum of things. And when I fly and when most people fly Dooku, they're basically leveraging like, hey, I get shot now. I defended the entire time, and now I'm going to shoot you, and then next turn I'm gonna recloak and kind of like rinse repeat. And the entire game in that particular one, you chose never to decloak, and even if you had a free shot and nobody else was shooting you, you were like, no, I'm going to stay decloaked. And even on a couple occasions, you even chose to not spend the force to like get rid of a stress token or something like that.
That was just a misplay. Missed opportunity there.
Okay. I just didn't know if you were just like being like, nope, I'm never going to decloak, and I'm just going to be like, all my force is this.
I've rewatched that game like 3 times now. I'm just like, oh, I'm so bad at this.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, James. It worked out. You could have just basically won harder. Is essentially what it ends up coming down to, right?
Pretty much, and it's just like I can't take the chance with like I think it's second sister. She has a reposition in the system phase, so. If he were ever get a bump on me, or she would ever get a bump on me, then Dooku can't cloak again. And if he gets blocked, he's stuck. So it's
no, and it makes sense after seeing it, like seeing it through, and especially seeing how kind of Dooku stuck around forever. I wish my TIE fighters would learn that trick. Maybe give
those guys were
no, yeah,
really
they're fine. It's just that it's really modded, And
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah,
and everything else.
I went back and counted. He rolled 29 evade dice, and he rolled like 16 evades naturally. And it's like, if that was even across the board, he would have like if he had rolled 11, like 11, 7, and 11, then he would still end up having like 2 whole left. So it's like, even if the dice were completely even, Dooku's still alive. He's a monster to kill.
He refused to go down, and that's what we saw in the other game we saw as well. You had Dirge on one side, Dooku on the other. The opponent,
Down the middle.
yeah, opted into Dooku, and so what it seems to me is like you kind of have if Dooku ends up getting a little bit hold, you got a little bit of bait and switch going on where Dirge can kind of come in and be like, "Look at me, shoot me," if need be, if you're trying to hold on to those 7 points.
Yeah, Dirge and Dooku will kind of circle objectives and just like, especially in Scramble, they'll just kind of try to circle those 2 objectives, and if Dooku needs to run, he'll run, and Dirge will scramble and try to get blocks and get in the way with his cloak as well. And it's just a lot of... The idea is really to make my opponent think way harder than I have to.
Mm-hmm.
If both my ships can decloak, that's what, another 7 positions that my ships could be in.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, all right, you got 30 combinations you have to figure out now, and I've got 6.
And I wonder as well, like, are some people, they're looking so hard at that cloak that they're maybe overthinking positioning when it comes to, because what it seemed like I guess here's my question: did you ever decloak in any of your other games, or was it just like they were there just to soak up the damage when it came to Dooku?
Anytime you ignore Dooku, he'll decloak and ram proton torpedoes in your face. So like when I played Ryan Farmer, yeah, when I played Ryan Farmer, Dooku decloaked, grabbed a box, came around, and then ended up proton torpedoing Ezra. And but yeah, he decloaks him. Not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I counted that up too when I was here in my room. He's cloaked about 70% of the game, or 70% of the time in all my games. But against some people, he'll decloak early and just wreak havoc if he has to. Because you can't ignore him either.
Right. Now, Will, you have any questions for James?
No, just that was my question. Was like, how many proton torpedoes did he end up shooting? It's just just 3.
Just 3.
Because not that that's bad. It's just an interesting because we didn't see you like target lock to even like threaten them. At least in the game I had saw. But that, I mean, you're right though. Like 3 force with 4 dice attacks. I mean, you can't ignore him.
Yeah, he target locked in the first game, but he was just so badly hurt that he had to run. So couldn't turn him around to fight.
It didn't make sense to, right? Like why be stressed, and you want to have the tokens where you could. Now, obviously, you end up winning LVO, but I'd like to ask this question. You played 5 plus another 4, 9 rounds with this list. If you could go back to before round 1, is there anything you would tweak with your list? Any upgrades that you maybe didn't use that you could maybe swap out for something else? Or was it pretty much you were happy with how everything kind of functioned?
Oh, I'm super happy with how everything functioned. I don't think I can, after winning, say I would change anything.
Fair.
That would affect a lot. I know a lot of people would say, like, independence something I should.
Yeah.
I don't. It just takes away too much of the dial of the hyena bomber.
Fair.
it's the hyena's going to go 2 straight, 3 straight, 2 hard. That's it. That's all the options it has left. So.
And I mean, and it seemed like, at least in the 2 games we had, that you're keeping them together, and that makes them even, like with those proximity mines, makes them super scary, right? It's like you have this just group of hyena bombers, just you don't want to be anywhere by that.
Yeah, you kill one, but there's still 2 more there that aren't happy about it now.
And I believe I heard you were talking about one of your other games where you not only used the proximity mines, with direct damage onto people, but you kind of used them to box out some objectives.
Yeah, they close out lanes really well. So if you park the hyena on a rock, and then launch one out the front or one out the back, whichever you need, 2 of them together will close out just about any lane you want. And then they can just rotate, come off, and go get that other objective split up if they need to, and just deny space, making you have less options. Mm-hmm. Really what the list does well.
Awesome, man. Well, I, of course, want to say congratulations for winning LVO. I'm sure that feels great. I know sometimes after a big win like that, it feels a little bit unreal. You're like, did that really? Right? But yeah, man, congratulations. Are you going to be coming to Worlds?
I think I have to. It's not that far away now.
There you go. I like it. You gotta be. That's right, man. You're in the elites. You made the jump. You obviously got the invites. You don't have to worry about the LCQ. And did you find out? And I'm curious. Did you find out? Are you getting the room and flight and all that, or transportation?
I believe so. I think it ends up being like a 30-minute flight though. So. Not much of a flight.
I mean, free? Why not?
Yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I have to get all the details figured out now. But.
Fantastic, man. Well, it's awesome. It was really cool to watch, and for me, as GSP, we're big. We're archiving the meta, right? We're kind of following how things are going. This is a list that I would not have expected. For me, it feels like left field to see.
Yeah, it really is.
To see this list be a championship list. But what's going to be cool here, James, is you're going to see people trying it now. Like, this is a list that people are going to start iterating on. And the question is, of course, when people start iterating on a championship list, are they iterating in the right direction or the wrong direction? That's all for history to figure out. But I think it's really cool. Now, before we let James go, guys, you guys have any other questions, any thoughts, anything before we let him let him off the chain?
So I guess I'll start because this was already kind of on my head. For people who are considering picking the list up, because I personally think, as a player on the outside looking in, and going to Worlds, I wouldn't mind seeing a bunch of people try this because I don't think they can fly it right. I think they're going to make more wrong decisions, and they're going to get too antsy and not be as patient and as disciplined as you were. So
yeah, that is
what could you what kind of advice would you give to someone who is considering this list? How would you best practice it or get in the right mindset to play it?
It takes a lot of time. I was back and forth on Dooku, and you just have to give it time. Like, I'm like, well, I'll try Grievous and some Bomber or some Hyena. Like, this doesn't work. And I just kept going back and forth, and you just got to give it time. You got to give it the reps. It took me like 2 solid months of playing with it nonstop just to really, really be patient. I think that's really the answer. Just you got to be patient with Dooku.
That makes sense.
All right, I got a question. And it's for the death pizzas. What's your favorite kind of pizza? You got a favorite pizza topping?
I like barbecue brisket.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I've never had that on a pizza. I have plans
Yeah, but
this
you eat
weekend.
barbecue pizza all the time, though.
I do, but never with brisket. Never thought like, oh, let's slap some brisket on the pizza. That just
Brisket.
feels smart, like a smart move.
Brisket and jalapeno.
All right, awesome.
Marcel, you got anything for James before we let him go?
No, just a huge congratulations. That's awesome. Well played.
All right, James. Before we let you go, do you want to give out any shout outs or anything like that? I'll just give you a moment, give you a soapbox if you like it.
Just to my friends back home and our group of Value Pick Squadron. We post some articles every once in a while and take a look into the game. So, ValuePickSquadron.com.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. The only thing you need to do is literally just close the window that you're in, and you'll be all done.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so absolutely awesome. Thank you to James for joining us today. Cool to hear his take. 2 months of practice with this list, lots of patience, and yeah, it's just a heck of a run for sure. So what I want to go ahead and do is let's take a look at, of course, the runner-up list. We're going to head back to Roll Better here. And our runner-up, which I thought I saw him in the chat earlier today, was Patrick Hansen out of California. You want to go ahead and break that down, Ryan?
Sure. So we have an Empire list. I guess unshockingly, it has a Vader. It is of the Defender variant using Malice Juke, heavy laser cannon. We have, I think, probably Defender Vader's favorite wingmate, Captain Faroff in the Reaper with Seven Sister crew. And then we have a Second Sister Interceptor with Extreme Maneuvers, Ruthless Shield Upgrade, and Sensitive Controls. Really like that Sensitive Controls, hard-won Extreme Maneuvers if you want. Get some really squirrely, wiggly movement that is very unpredictable. And then just an Academy pilot hanging out there, probably farming some points objective-wise. And just being an I-1 blocking nuisance sometimes. But I kind of wrote back to the Faroff part. With Faroff being able, as a Reaper, Jam's good.
Oh, yeah.
Faroff much more durable than Vizier, so can really get shoved into the middle of things sometimes and be a real nuisance, which Reapers are much better at doing in that capacity. And then Seventh Sister can almost act as a double jam, or if you want to lay someone up real bad, can apply the Tractor Token if they opt for it to take a stress, whether it's off a linked action or bump focus. So I think Faroff is an extremely good setup and wingman to Vader Defender. Finding out the rest of those 7 points, Patrick opted for the newly minted Second Sister Interceptor and Academy Pilot, which worked out very well for him.
Yeah, so it's cool to see Second Sister in that Interceptor. I was wondering what type of lists would it pop up in, and I'm not surprised that, after seeing it, it feels like a little bit like oh duh, that you would need something like Defender Vader that could take enough heat off of her to keep her survivable and make it so that she gets opportunities to be not only defensive, which she's really good at doing, but also have her opportunities to get some shots in here or there.
I think the one thing, though, that surprises me is the ability for this list to, I guess I'd be curious to know the average split of kill points to objective points, because one thing I have noticed with Vader Defender lists as of now is it's not as much needing stuff to like you just need to survive or live or whatever. Like, living's good, but Vader can't sometimes take all the weight and be the only offensive push. I was really surprised to see that there was it was a 4-ship list with Defender Vader, and one of them was just an Academy pilot. The other two were Farroff, who, as disruptive as Farroff isn't exactly an offensive powerhouse. And Second Sister, being a lower initiative, does need to use those maneuvers to be very unpredictable, but also still be kind of safe a little bit before it can really commit to some serious offense. So I think what surprises me is at face value, this doesn't seem to have a lot of offensive oomph to back up Vader, so Vader doesn't have to shoulder everything. He's really good at shouldering a lot of stuff.
Right.
But if the objective clock is put on that list and someone's taken out Farroff or Second Sister, those higher point things left in the list, Vader sometimes just doesn't have the time before those objective points start stacking up for the opponent.
Yeah, and that's what ended up happening in the final, right? So it was scramble the transmissions, if I'm not mistaken, right? And there was just a couple turns where, no, the last, I'm thinking of a different game. It was chance engagement. Was it the end? Was the end chance engagement? I'm doubting myself now. I can find this out quickly. Yeah, the final was chance engagement. But there was a couple of turns where Patrick didn't get the center. So we had a couple points there, and it made it so that he was on the back foot about mid-game, which is a little bit, obviously, it's tough, right, to be able to get that back. And then it ended with... It ended with Vader, unfortunately, at this point making a desperation 4K after a coordinated boost that just barely went off the board. But at that point, Patrick was in that I got to figure out how to grab victory out of the jaws of defeat, and just didn't quite suffice. But yes, Patrick is in the chat, and he said he only lost Second Sister in the top 8 versus Isophane and top 4 versus Jeremy. So out of that many games over the weekend, only lost her twice. So that's awesome.
Definitely a very, very durable ship with 2 force. And I mean, even just we recall back when the V1. The TIE Advance V1s were a little more prevalent. Even just a single force in evade is very difficult to punch through. So if it felt the need to use extreme maneuvers on the sensitive controls, or even in just the regular boost afterward, after he already moves, it's still very difficult to punch through. And Ruthless is there. You know, that has been a real addition to some offense that you don't need a lock for, which helps Second Sister too. So Farroff just can take a while to punch through. It's very, very durable for a Reaper. I mean, when you don't have to take the evade action to be durable, and most people are going to modify their dice. Mm-hmm. You just get that free. Like I basically have reinforce all around because I'm just like, if you spend your green token and you don't have one, I'm just going to have an evade, which frees you up to coordinate or jam or just focus and put up some offense.
And it was pretty cool to see Patrick use Ruthless, because Captain Farroff was almost never the focus of offense. So using the health of the Reaper as a resource to help Seven Sister punch harder and still have defensive tokens, also a big deal. Really,
honestly,
really cool.
I wouldn't be surprised if he used Vader Defender's health as a resource, because a lot of people
He did do that. We saw him do it once.
Yeah, I would. A lot of people early on in the game say, "I'm not even gonna try." Like, Vader Defender, do what you do. I'm gonna try and mitigate you, but I'm not gonna realistically try and kill you. And as a Vader Defender player, you need to know that your health is a real resource to use, and that Ruthless, 100%. I would definitely take a damage on Vader Defender just to help put Second Sister's shot through.
Yeah, Patrick, you're in the chat. I would love to know how many, like, do you know in a single game how many times was the max you Ruthless Vader to push through extra damage? Would love to know. Really curious to know that. So let's go ahead and keep it going here, looking at our top 4. Top 4 player Jeremy Chambly Jeremy Chambly brought I believe the only TIE Brute, and not just any TIE Brute, people. The brand new flight leader Ubel was in the house. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Marcel, you want to go ahead and read out this list?
Yep. So you've got Darth Vader, the Battle of Yavin Vader, Boy Vader at 6 points. And well, it's not listed on there, but he basically comes with hate, extreme maneuvers, an extra shield upgrade, and afterburners. Then he brought Flight Leader Ubel, the TIE Heavy, as you said, I-5 with Ruthless, Sync, Laser Cannons, Tiber Saxon. I don't know. That gives you strain if you land a shot at range 1 or 2. Electronic Baffle and Targeting Assist MGK 300, which I believe is free calculates. Is that the free calculate?
If you're not stressed or don't already have a green token, you can get a calculate for each ship at range 2 to 3 in your firing arc with a max of 2.
Gotcha. And then you've got the Battle of Yavin Backstabber and Battle of Yavin Mauler Mythal, which again complement each other, plus piggyback on Darth Vader to get 3-die guns. And similar to the runner-up, a Black Squadron Ace TIE Fighter, the other guy had a Academy, but basically a 2-point TIE Fighter to get you some, basically just get more than 2 points of value. Just either carry a charge for 2 turns, maybe get a lucky shot somewhere, or just take shots away from somebody else that's more meaningful and just let them go on that guy. And also, just not to, I think it's the exact same list that he brought to PAX and won PAX with. So he won the Philly tournament in December with this exact same list. Second? Okay.
Second.
Yeah, he was in the finals with this exact list. Yes.
Yeah. So it's still impressive. Top 4, and then finals with this exact same list. So he's all of us going to Worlds, we should expect to see this list, and we should expect to see Jeremy doing well with it, and maybe some other people that I think Chris Allen also saw, like when I was going through it, also had this list.
Chris Allen and Travis Johnson, they all went in on the same list to get more testing.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure you'll see a number of these around, as well as a number of the I don't know how many of the Separatist ones, but definitely a number of the Defender Vaders. So very good list. Obviously, a list that's been tested in a group environment, approved by a number of people, and done well into consecutive tournaments.
And that ability, if you're not familiar with it, after a friendly ship at range 0 to 2 defends, if it was dealt a damage card, you may perform a bonus attack against the attacker. So, you have a Dengar-like ability, but that triggers when your shot or any of your friendlies, and you end up taking that damage. So it's an offensive ability that can sometimes end up acting as a defensive ability if people are opting not to shoot, which, I mean, sure, then you're likely keeping more ships on the table, so it's kind of a between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, and I think Dengar is the right description, because the first time I flew on it against it, again, I wasn't used to it, and I was thinking more like quick draw ability, where when it happens you shoot again, and it's not. It's when it happens you shoot the defender. Right. So having that arc, where that arc is pointing, and making sure that arc is pointed at the pieces that are more likely to do damage is important. If you spread them out too wide, or if you have ships shooting from just outside of the arc, it just, the ability doesn't trigger. It only triggers against the ship that is taking the shot. And only while you're defending, so you can't auto trigger it by bombing yourself or something.
Right.
Yeah, I had to reread after PAX when I saw his how well he did with it. I reread Ruthless to make sure he couldn't trigger it himself on his own friends with Ruthless. It is only when defending. It's one of those ships that it feels bad, but you gotta rip the Band-Aid off. The earlier you get Ubel off the board, the better it's going to feel. It might hurt along the way, but what Ubel does to the board and to engagements can be feel bad and favorable to the Ubel player. But the more Ubel stays on the board, the more extra shots he gets. It's bad.
And it's still just one agility. It's like you said, pull that Band-Aid off. It's like having a quick draw. When quick draws there, quick draws I6 with a target lock focus every turn. It's going to cause a lot of damage. So the quicker you deal with that, the better it is for you.
All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our other top 4 list. This is Mitch Hurst and his First Order squad. Will?
All right. This First Order squad has Commander Malorus with cluster missiles, Lieutenant Gaelic with the new coordinating on friendly death, TIE FO with Proud Tradition, Biohex decrypt codes for that coordinate, and a tractor beam cannon. We got Scorch with the shield upgrade, second Scorch, known as DT, with a shield upgrade. We got Static as well, utilizing Proud Tradition and Ion Cannon. Then Recoil, that's the silencer who can essentially use Predator at range 1 as long as they're stressed. For that reroll was just Predator and Sensor Scramblers for that beginning cloak token. Flying something very similar in Kyber, utilizing these 5 FO fighters, all of them being able to roll 3 attack dice very easily, whether it's between the cannons or the cluster missiles or taking red tokens. Then I can imagine Recoil in there as well, another I4, being able to lead the charge, if you will, and be able to shoot easily double modified attacks on offense. You're really getting a lot of red dice out of what should be a swarm of just filler ships. I think these TIE-FOs have really elevated themselves beyond just fillers, and especially like Scorch and DT. These versions have 5 health on 3 agility. You're up to like X1 kind of health at that point. What else has 5 health and 3 agility?
Click. And the shield upgrade V19s. Not V19s, V-Wings.
The V-Wings, yeah. So yeah, being able to get off past that, just 4 health, makes them so defensive out there. And yeah, if all of these guys bear down, I don't bring the tractor beam. That's very interesting to see. That tractor beam being able to move ships around, pull them in close, and make it easier for that ion cannon follow-up as well.
Yeah, I know I've been favoring Ion on both Gaelic and Static, which I think at baseline is still good. But I think what can potentially push the damage threshold up with this list is that Tractor Beam for Gaelic at I5. Usually, Tractor Beam and Tricks doing that to help enhance other friendly ship shots. You need a certain amount of shots and a certain amount of good shots, not just like 2 dice attacks. You need a viable amount of 3, maybe 4 at range 1 if you could set it up to make that tractor beam like end up worth it over something that can do damage like an ion cannon. And this is a situation where it can work, especially when you can do a plethora of things, throwing stuff into Malorus's cluster missiles, throwing stuff into range 1 of all of the Scorch, the DT, the Recoil, these ships that can create the 4 dice at range 1. And something as simple as just, I'm going to separate the boys, smaller stabber, before they shoot. So there's some tools that Tractor Beam can use.
Yeah, I do
really
like
to really make
the,
like because this list is hard. This list is a slog to bring down because it's all 4 or 5 health,
Yep.
or 6 in silencer with 3 agility. They're not easy to bring down quick without like some high powered quality attacks.
And he's got the
But
bodies for
yeah.
objectives as well. Like it's very well rounded.
So when the key is trying to get up, and like because this is what this list was kind of lacking, unless without a little bit of like perfect engagements or a little bit of variance, is being able to push the damage so they get up in the race early enough to where the slog becomes that much more difficult. And Tractor Beam might be one of those key things that does it. Like getting that ship that they're targeting out turn 1, gone. And now you're like, I'm 4 versus 6, and I didn't do much damage in the first engagement. Whereas one of my ships got pulled from range 3 to range 2. I've lost 2 agility total because I'm not at range 3 anymore, and I'm minus 1 agility. And all this stuff just laid into me, and I'm dead.
And actually, looks like Mitch is in the chat. He said, I did do that versus Jeremy. I tractored one of the boys behind the others so that they went from 8 attack dice to 6 attack dice. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. By the way, shout out Mitch giving me a ride to the airport. Okay? Want to publicly say thank you.
Oh, good guy, Mitch.
Mitch is awesome. Also, I've said it many times, Mitch is also the top highlight in X-Wing stream here for GSP, the 5 straight heard around the world with a quick draw. Oh, beautiful.
Oh yeah, people don't know. Mitch was made famous for the 5 straight quick draw template because he 5 straight a quick draw through a rock and killed Wedge before he ever moved.
It was
in
glorious.
An engagement.
It was glorious. All right, well let's keep it going here. Looking at a couple of the other lists. So as we get into the top 8, the player that Mitch defeated to get into the top 4 was Tyler Tippett, and he had a really cool Republic list. Now on day 1 of Swiss, we saw Republic not do well at all. Whether it was, there was a very high Imperial contingency there, and maybe just the Imperial players there just, I don't know whether it's experience or just bad luck, but they just didn't show up. They just didn't perform well. But we had much more Republic success and a higher turnout of Republic on the second flight of Swiss. This is what Tyler brought. So let's go ahead and break it down. We start with Anakin in that Delta 7B. Pretty much it's a staple definitely for Republic. It is a big hitter, extreme maneuvers, Predator, R2-D2. Then you had Obi-Wan Kenobi from the Siege of Coruscant in the Eta-2, Kickback, Siege of Coruscant, Click, Siege of Coruscant, and then Contrail, customizable with Crackshot, R7A7, delayed fuses, R3 Besh, and proton bombs. And the idea behind this, we got to see I think we had 2 games with Tyler on stream, the strength of the Born for This Siege of Coruscant ability is so good, and specifically how it functions with Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's actually kind of similar strategically to how James Stumbo used Dooku, is that Obi-Wan Kenobi can absorb so many shots with its own 3 agility. It can get its own evade. It has the Force, plus getting tossed a conversion to an evade from a clone that just takes spends a focus and takes a strain. It's amazing. It's so good. And of course, the clones can use that amongst themselves as well with Obi-Wan and Anakin. And it was just like, it was really amazing to see this, what looks like just kind of like a salad list, like all these kind of random pieces, and how even a piece like Kickback, a V19, which V19s for a long time have not had a lot of value in the meta game, and how a piece like that was out there and was firing out. It carries a missile. Is it a
Diamond boron missile?
Yeah, it has a diamond boron missile. You can't sleep on it. It can do damage, And because it doesn't seem like a very important target, people tend to ignore it. But essentially, Kickback's your first born for this kind of carrier. He's just out there like, I'll just keep taking strain because people keep ignoring me. And it's pretty good. Obviously, Anakin's out there just trying to punch people in the face and outmaneuver people. But I think just a really cool list and a different variation to what we were seeing in Republic before. And I do have to say, it is great to see the impact of the brand new releases, the Siege of Coruscant, the Hot Shots and Aces 2, all this stuff showing up in the metagame right away.
Dion, I think you mentioned before we started talking about Tyler, like that this Republic list showed up and did really well, but a lot of other ones you said didn't. Mm-hmm. You want to know what the key difference was?
Hit me.
You see any Arc 170s in Tyler's lists?
No Arc 170s.
So they can still perform. They can be good. They're better than they were before. Mm-hmm. But man, are they the easiest number one target for me to pick to shoot across the table when I see it in a Republic list. if there was a Wolf instead of an Obi-Wan in here, first thing to go. Goodbye. But Obi-Wan here, you're right. He is one of the most ridiculously defensive things in the game with this setup. 2 evades at his disposal if he takes an evade action. A focus at his disposal from click. 3 force. And then click. So if you get range 1, you're not going over his dice. So shove him in there. he can like you don't play coy with that Obi. You have all the stacks of tokens with you. You go get range 1. You go get those bullseyes.
And then let's stay on the Republic train. Another top 8 competitor we had was Liam Lee out of Colorado, and brought another Republic list that I definitely wouldn't have expected. Let's go ahead and take a look at that, Ryan.
Let me go back here. Who was this again?
This is Liam Lee, L male, if you're looking at those names.
Yeah, so other Republic list here. We have a Anakin in Delta 7B. This one opting for Chopper as the astromech, which I think is a viable option other than R2-D2. It's probably the best chassis to be carrying Chopper. Also has spare parts, canisters, elusive, and patience. We have the oddball Y-Wing as the 4-point option with dedicated proton torpedoes and R4P. Contrail with the Siege of Coruscant version instead of the custom version. One of the notable differences is it has an ion bomb, not a proton bomb, or any other bomb of choice. It also has precise astromech, so it does have a way to double mod itself with focus plus lock by stressing itself as if you do it twice per game. Precise has 2 charges. We have Kickback, also Siege. I think the key thing is it's one of the cheapest ways to get an evade for Born for this, but also really helps. He's I5 and has a missile that gives him 3 hits.
Yeah, it's not just a support piece, right? Like it can do work by itself.
Yeah, there are turns where, like, sure, like the default is evade,
right?
But there are turns that you should be trying to actively get Kickback's missile in the game because it does help push damage to help finish a game off or push the game towards a victory for you. And the last piece in this list is Clone Z95 NAC with Fire Control System, Synchronized Council, and Mag Pulse warheads. So every ship in this list is actually I5 or higher. Kickback, NAC, Contrail, Oddball, all I5, and then Anakin at I6. So utilizing maybe those mag pulses to help neuter some of the offense back at his list, since he's opting for the 4-point ship being Oddball, which is providing a lot more offense and trading more so than just staying alive like that Siege Obi.
All right, let's go ahead and check out those next 2 top 8 lists. We had a great friend of the show, Isofane, the 2022 LVO champion, had another great run, got into the cut all the way to the top 8, did end up falling, and with a list that is very much his style. He loves his droids. Marcel, go ahead and take a look at that one.
All right, so I still flew General Grievous without maneuver, Impervium, and Soulless one, which is kind of like stapled. Then Captain Sear in the belly rub with K2B4, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the one where you spend a calculate in order to make people choose between receiving a strain or giving you an evade. Shield upgrade and Impervium plating as well, because it's not limited. Then DFS 081 with the energy shell charges, independent calculations, and grappling struts. They're on my assembler Vulture Droid.
The Iron Assembler.
They're on my assembler. I read it right. There on. There's a my in there somewhere. With energy shell charges, independent calculations, and grappling struts. And then you got 3 separatist drones with Discord missiles. If I'm not mistaken, this is didn't he win something recently with this exact same thing? And it's almost very similar, at least, to what he won LVO with. So this is kind of like in his bag, baby.
Mm-hmm. He won the North Carolina event that Mitch Hurst actually helped run. TO. The only difference is the other version had a couple Hayward Shaw prototypes with those energy shell charges because Iron Assembler was not out yet.
Gotcha.
Now Iron Assembler is available, so you have 081 as one of the energy shell charges, Iron Assembler, and then 3 separatists with Discord missiles.
There you go. So yeah, obviously very good list. Very good list for him. That's 7 ships. A lot of those not independent calculations, but those grappling struts are just really good in many of the objectives. They're just super good in objective, getting an objective points.
And Isophane
pointing.
Isophane in the chat does end up mentioning that Iron Assembler actually did really well for him. Has an ability to be able to soak damage. It ended up being able to take like 7 damage in a single game, which is absolutely crazy for a Vulture to be able to warrant that number of shots into it, which only gives you advantage, right? It gives you time. Your opponent's wasting, quote unquote, wasting shots into it. When with the number of ships on the table, you're probably playing around 6 to 7 rounds a game. Like that Iron Assembler can extend the life of your list quite a bit. To say the least. Our last top 8 list, and the last list we're going to talk about here comes from, I forgot their actual name. Give me like half a second and I could tell you who it was. This was Jonathan Gores. Jonathan Gores here with what I think probably is one of the most common Imperial lists that we saw on Friday, or some variation on it. Go ahead, take it, Will.
All right, this is featuring the Battle of Yavin, Darth Vader and his 2 wingmen, Backstabber and Mauler Mythal. Normally seen with Iden as well to protect them. She's using an ion cannon and elusive here. And then uses the 4 remaining points as 2 Black Squadron TIE fighters. Those are the initiative 3. So ends up with a mini swarm, if you can call it that, of 5 TIE fighters plus that boy Darth Vader.
It's so good.
High agility, really good output. And the more and more I play against and play with the Backstabber and Mauler, that afterburners on them is really game changing. It
It's
lets
so
them keep
good.
up with Vader, lets them escape. Man,
With
very good.
I mean, think about it. It adds between the hull upgrade and the afterburners, not even counting like the other things that
yeah,
they get.
they feel like
That's
interceptors.
like 16, 17 loadout points.
Yeah.
Or equivalent
It's
to,
a different ship. Like people who think about a TIE fighter think about what the Black Squadron Ace and Iden is. Mauler and Backstabber are a completely different animal.
Yeah,
Same
they're
silhouette, different,
pretty good.
different, completely different thing. But yeah, those two are not going anywhere. Those are going to be Imperial staples as long as they're affordable. They're in that 3 and 4 point range. We're gonna see them for sure, and absolutely amazing in objectives. Right? Anytime you need somebody to go defend an objective, go get something, a solo satellite array, you don't really want to mess with those two.
I mean, I'm guessing there's a non-zero chance in testing they started these each at 3 points. They were like 6 combined. They were like, I think they're too expensive at 8, but we sure as hell can't keep them at 6 total. Like one of these has to be 4. Okay.
I don't know if they're too expensive at 8. I mean,
maybe. I don't know.
Empire players.
Right now they feel strong. They don't feel overbearing.
That's fair. A lot of stuff is overbearing. That would not be top of my list.
All right, so that closes out our Las Vegas Open coverage. Of course, on our YouTube channel, you're going to be seeing those games pop up. If you are subscribed here on Twitch, you can watch them right away without delay. So, again, thank you to everybody who has done that. Remember, you can subscribe to us on Twitch for free every 30 days if you got that Twitch Prime gaming. So thank you to all who have done that. So what I want to do now is make a quick shift here as we close out the podcast, talk a little bit about Sector Series. Sector Series going on. We just finished up round 2 playing. It was oh my goodness. What was the scenario?
I think we were playing Chance.
Yeah, chance engagement, people smacking each other around.
Yep.
I'd love to get updates. How'd your guys' games go?
All right, I can start. So I had flown a list I wanted to try out.
What sector are you in again? Just so that people know.
I'm sorry.
What sector are you in, just for reference?
Oh, it's Sector 1. Representing. Number 1. 1 all day. But yeah, so I wanted to try out this Jango Fett Dirge, so good, and Grievous, and then the Siege 404. It has an interesting comment. Not only are Dirge and Grievous just amazing pieces out there, and Django's fine with fire spray, so can't be bad. But there's a funny combination of Savage Oppress and 404. 3 points. 404 can shoot a 6 dice advanced proton torpedo. It is crazy. But what's even nuts is that he's got a barrel linked to target lock. When he takes that red target lock action, Savaz can actually throw him a focus. So you can out there double modifying 6 dice attacks at just 3 points. It provides a target essentially for the enemy, and that gives the other 3, the Dirge, Grievous, and Django, just enough time to either get in behind them or get through their firing lines to be able to start dropping bombs, start getting out maneuvers. I ended up going against Matt Carey in a very tough game. It came down to just the last shots. Like, I had to kill 2 ships, which was not going to be an easy challenge, but a little bit of luck on road, letting me move after him, and obviously a lot of luck on offense for my 2 attacks, and barely squeaked out the win against him.
Ryan?
So I opted to not change my list. I was still going the route of trying things out with the list as is, going through the objectives that we have. I have the same list as we just talked about with that Tyler Tippett brought to LVO. It's something that within our Discord have been talking through and figuring out and testing out a lot. So I want to continue myself trying it out. I went up. Oh, geez, what did I go up against? I feel like it was more than a week ago. It feels so long. Oh, I went up against almost a mirror match, except it was Republic on Republic. They brought Wolf and Jag though, and they had Contrail and Kickback, and what fits after that? I don't think it was Anakin. No, it was Anakin. How did that all fit? Oh, he didn't have Click. Never mind. I don't know. Some combination of Republic ships. I ended up. Oh no, wait, that was a different game. My head is so out of it right now. But it was another Republic game, Republic list. I think it was close to the same thing, except it was Wolf instead of Obi. Sorry, I played many games this week. That was some of them against Republic. It's wish-washing together.
Sorry, good problem. You've been practicing.
Yeah.
It's like we got a big tournament coming up or something. I don't know.
Something to plan for. Get practice reps in. Yeah, so it was pretty close to a mirror match where he had a different build of Anakin 7B. He went with like Brilliant Evasion, Elusive, and I think the crit droid and like I think a shield upgrade. So a little more defensive, but like the crit as well. He had Siege Click. He had custom contrail with prox mines instead of a cheaper bomb, and then did opt for that Siege Wolf that I tried to burn down really quick. And what I'm not used to is having those type of faction mirror matches. A lot of times when we do practice games, we're trying to get a broad feel of stuff. So it'll be like, oh, what do you feel like playing? Oh, it's Republic. All right, well, I'll do this. Practice some of those mirror matches, especially if you're an Empire player, because Empire is really popular anyway, so you should be playing other Empire too. Republic is gaining a little bit of steam, and anything really. Don't forget to practice matches against your own faction, even if it's not the same list. But because it was chance and there wasn't a lot of extra points to be gained, it was kind of like tiny little slap fights and then like a big hit, like every once in a while. Because it's, when did that Anakin get its big hit in? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Because he spends his time biding his time looking for his opportunity, right?
Yeah, and everything else is kind of like just like tickling each other a little bit here and there, and like getting a little bit of damage. So I'm used to going to full destruction, but that's because I've never had a Republic versus Republic in chance game in a long time, if at all. And we ended at like 13 or 14 for me, and then like 8 or 9 for him. So lowish scoring, but I ended up pulling out the win. And yeah, I mean, the Republic list feels good. Tyler loves it, as last I checked. As we saw, it did well at LVO. It's definitely high on my list for Worlds. Will I keep it for next round? I don't know, maybe.
We'll find out. All right, Marcel, what's your update for Sector Series?
I played against Maximus. I'm trying to remember what he played because I played 2 games last week, and both games kind of like, I used the same list, similar list both times, so I don't quite remember. But what I flew was the First Order. So I kind of borrowed a little bit from what William was doing in our Kyber Cup, and flew the Gaelic other I-5 one, Maurus, DT, and Scorch. And then I was looking just for like different pieces, like he's flying another TIE fighter plus Hollow. And then I looked at that. Then I looked at maybe another TIE fighter and a Blackout. So I was trying like different things to figure out like what makes sense for me. Then I also tried like Blackout and Hollow, and I settled on just 2 Whispers. I settled on, let me see which ones, Whirlwind and the other named one at 4 points.
Nightfall.
Yeah, there you go. Nightfall and Whirlwind. I actually enjoyed it a lot. You know, they've got like an A-wing feel, but obviously they can't focus boost and stuff like that. But the jamming as support for the TIE fighters actually was really really good. I ended up playing one of the matches that I played was a mirror match, so I think that might have been the one that was for Sector Series, which was the same 4 TIE fighters, but they had Agent Terex. Is it no? They get Gideon Hask and some other ship. So they were doing like the whole. Everybody's going to be like 3 ships are going to be focused evaded every time. And it was a pretty close match. I just looked at the score. It was 17-13. So whatever we played, it was a close game. So 17-13. Because I also played against another one that was Resistance with like with Finn and some other stuff. So again, that's why I kind of forget which one of the 2 it was that I played, or which one it was that I played as part of the Sector Series versus just for fun. But yeah, I mean, for Will and I think Will and James have been talking like 6 ships is a nice little sweet spot right now. If you're playing 5, you've got to you got to make them work. If you're playing 7, you're probably giving something up in terms of, and 6 ships seems to be like a nice little sweet spot, at least for me right now. So I'm trying that. I'm trying a couple. I think in the next round, it doesn't care if my opponent's listening. I'm doing like a Resistance 6 ships. So it would be Lulo, Sefton with Prockets. So Lulo not with Prockets. Lulo like shield upgrade and stuff. Lulo, Sefton, Zay, BB-8, Finn, and then another 3-pointer, either Merle or Jarek. Probably Jarek, so I can get 3 I5s in there. So it would be Lulo, Sefton, and Jarek.
You really tore up my suggestion of Jaeger when I first suggested it to you.
I was like, no, Jaeger sucks, and then I'm like, wait,
I5 Mag Pulse? Like,
I5 Mag Pulse plus, maybe throw
slamming around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but yeah, so like 3. Yeah, it may make sense. Like 3 I5s and then BB-8, Zay, and Finn. So that's probably that's along the lines of what I've been trying. So I've been trying the 6 ships and the Rebels, and I'm bored of Empire. They're really good, but I just kind of done with it. I already lost. I lost my first week.
Well, nobody heard me say that. So yeah, so you guys are doing really well in Sector Series. It's a good chance you guys end up playing each other maybe at some point. It's gonna be good. We can only have so many. Only 4 out of each sector end up making it into the Sector Series top cut. So it'll be tight. So our next Sector Series scenario is going to be scramble the transmissions. 3 objective tokens out there. I think probably my number 1 tip for anybody who's playing this week is, and we saw it happen a few times on stream, you cannot let your opponent have turns where they get all 3 scrambles on the same turn. Like, that is a recipe. Like, 1 turn you probably can survive it, but if you let it happen for multiple turns where you have all 3, where your opponent has all 3 of them, you probably have lost the game at that point. It can snowball real fast.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those situations where you've trained your brain to where, like, we shot, I can K-turn behind them, right, and then I can pursue them. But if you have the opportunity to just fly past them and grab the objective they were trying to have the whole game, and then K-turn, spending just that 1 extra round could, I mean, it's a 2-point sway, right?
Yep.
Every time you take an objective from your opponent.
Absolutely. One of the ways that James talks about it is if you let somebody have a 3-point swing, like they basically got a ship worth like a ship dying worth of points because you didn't do something, right? You didn't. You made and it may have been tactical. You decided not to take the objective, or your opponent had higher initiative than you on the one that you did have, which can happen. So watch out. You really have to play the objective, in my opinion, and scramble, unless you really can come in and clean the table pretty quickly. You got to do it fast, though. You got to do it in the first couple of rounds. So good luck to everybody playing Sector Series. Any shout-outs or any for the good of the order before we head out for the night, gentlemen?
Just want to give a shout-out to Kenneth doing me and Marcel's pairings. Hopefully we can have another successful week.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for watching. Remember to tune in live on Wednesday for some live Sector Series games. And, of course, if you want to follow the action, you can go ahead and go to goldsquadronpodcast.com, click on Sector Series, follow it on Roll Better to see how the matchups are going. And if you click on a player's name, you can actually see their list from round to round. Most players are remembering to do that. I'm actually in the process of issuing some warnings for people not putting in their lists. So some people getting spanked, just saying. Okay? And not in a fun way, just saying. Okay? All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Be smart and be safe. Gold Squadron